Hey, guess who's back? It's the Legends of Grayskull podcast. Scavarna and the Douche talk masters of the universe. It's the Legends of Grayskull podcast.
Legends of Grayskull is a fan podcast exploring the vast worlds of He-Man and She-Ra. Join Shawn Scavarna and Matthew Douche as they discuss the history and mystery of Eternia and Etheria, diving deep into all incarnations of Masters of the Universe.
Hey, you know who's back? It's the Legends of Grayskull podcast. Now that you know, let's go get ready for the show. It's the Legends of Grayskull podcast. Sit back and enjoy the ride right now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Legends of Grayskull podcast. This is episode 101. Now that we're past 100, I thought I'd try something new.
Is it working for you?
I hate it.
Yeah.
Let's try that again. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 101 of Legends of Grayskull, the fan podcast where we discuss the history, the mystery, the magic, and mythology of He-Man, She-Ra, Eternia, Etheria, Nordor, Primus, New Adventures, Old Adventures, Ladybird, UK Animals, comics, mini-comics, anything and everything you can think of with that He-Man, She-Ra, Masters of the Universe, Princess of Power! That Mattel logo down in the corner. I'm Matthew Douche, here again with Shawn Scavarna. Shawn, that felt a lot better.
I had faith in you, and you delivered.
Me.
And above that, man, I mean, wow.
Like home.
So
It's
we're
episode
good.
101.
101.
Just think, 2 short episodes ago, we were at 99.
Yeah, I know.
Just 2 episodes ago, 99. Crazy.
Our numbering is interesting, but I love it.
And now we're here.
Now we're here.
We're on the other side.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Do you feel differently?
I don't.
It
Think
feels
about
like
it.
Tuesday to me.
It's like Tuesday. But it's been a good time. We had a good episode 100, parts 1 and 2. We didn't get to everything that we wanted to due to eBay and scheduling and shipping and other stuff. But you know what? That still leaves us with some stuff down the pipeline to come back to. So
Absolutely.
but yeah, we'll get back to basics for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We need to, you know what we need to do? We need to start having some guests on here again. It's been a while since we've had some true guest hosts. You know what I mean? I know episode 100 we had Curtis and Jesse, but you know, definitely need to reach out to the broader community a little bit again. That's something that we did early on, and I think just with this past year, just our scheduling has been insane. I mean, for that matter, one of my resolutions. God, I can't talk today.
Revelation.
Revelation. Result. Yeah. But
That's
one of my
the third one, resolution. It'll be
retribution.
Rebootation.
Regeneration,
rejuvenation.
genitals.
Oh,
what are we doing?
We're going
here?
into off world. Watch out!
Oh, watch out for the off world. They'll smack you in the face. But no, we got to start getting back on a schedule. So that is definitely one of the things, you know, to the fans. We know there's lots of changes afoot, but we are going to try and get back on track with more of a regular release for Legends. So we have not forgotten about you guys. Legends of Grayskull is not going anywhere, but you know, definitely launching Off-World definitely took some focus away for a little bit. They're trying to get that up on its feet, trying to prop Curtis up. You know, he's very green in everything, and he needs a lot of help. So.
No, and I mean, on top of that, it's just for us, just the two of us. It is basically a schedule because of how things work out. So we do it when we can, and it's nice to know that people are definitely listening and parts of the community. Like, did you want to go into it?
Yeah,
first,
that's exactly what I thought we were going to, because
Go for it.
for most of the people who already know, if you haven't been on Facebook lately, as you know, we recently launched the Legendati group, and that kind of took on the mantle of being number one. It's a private group on Facebook, and a lot of people feel freer in a private group, because not everyone's geek flag flies as blatantly as mine and Sean's, and we get it. I was that way for a long time, where I only participated in geek stuff in private groups. So that's why we created Legendati Group. And then with launching Off-World, shooting the shelf, joining forces with us, and us combining, it just made sense to combine it all into the Legendati Group. And so yesterday I did make the announcement that we will be shutting down the Legends of Grayskull podcast solo Facebook group. And again, it just comes down to time and resources. We're not Facebook group managers. We're not David Clark. We don't need a billion T groups. And so for me, it's just like, it makes more sense to concentrate on our efforts on the Legendverse group in the Legendati.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. And I mean, already we've had a lot of good response in that group.
Yep.
The amalgam of shows we're doing in there, which it's still kind of blowing my mind. We started as Legends of Grayskull, and now we have almost like this little multiverse within our podcast because of how this is going. So it's like, okay, even like a year or two from now, what are we going to be doing that we didn't expect to be doing now? Is kind of mind blowing to me. But yeah, it has been a little more difficult for us because both of us were, scheduling and all that stuff. And it does make a lot more sense. It's more focused. And as Matt said, the private group thing, it does seem to have a lot more interest nowadays because you can have a little more freedom or whatever. Not that we want it to be like NSFW kind of stuff, but just you can throw what you want to out there geek wise and just have a blast with people that want to communicate that way with you. So there you go.
Exactly. But yeah, lots of good people, lots of people sad to see the solo group going, and I get it, but it's just, it's the time. It's, and it's just the right move to make, but we wanted to keep it up until after, honestly, Defenders of Eden. I didn't want to shut it down when we were using basically all groups, anything we possibly could to get Armies of Ashmore off the ground, which happy to report successfully funded on Kickstarter. Needed $109,000 to go into production, and he ended up, I'm rounding, but $149,000. If you don't know what we're talking about, you can still check out Defenders of Eden, Army of Ashmore. There's the toy group on Facebook. You can still see the Kickstarter page, but it also went live yesterday. I probably should have pulled this up ahead of time, but I'll pull it up now because I can do that. There they are. Where am I? But they did go live on Big Bad Toy Store.
Yeah.
As of yesterday, which is really cool to see. So there they are, Defenders of Eden. They were the top yesterday, so but they're still up here. Slightly higher prices, but still, if you couldn't get in on the Kickstarter for whatever reason, definitely, nope, wrong button. Definitely get over there to Big Bad Toy Store and support them now. They've got everything except for the Caspar, the albino Triceratops, and the Spectral Milwick. Those were Kickstarter exclusive. But everything else you can get through Big Bad Toy Store right now. Get that pre-order in. It still goes to help Matt. And I can't wait for Wave 2.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to have Wave 1 in my hands either. But
yeah,
it's all we can do now is wait.
Yep. The waiting game begins. But heck, it is pretty crazy to go, wow, we know somebody that got that to work. That's that's pretty crazy. There's like a legit toy line that isn't, something that we already have on our shelves going to be coming at us. So very cool. And I really want that Rydor figure on my shelf, so I'm very happy that it funded. Simple as that.
Yeah, and Matt's a good guy. He's the #1 guest host on, the most appeared guest host on Legends of Grayskull.
Yep.
And he's a good guy. He's been working on this dream of his. He wanted to make comics and toys since he was like 14 years old. And he's made comics, and now he's making toys. Like, that is just so awesome to see his dreams come true, and that we could be a part of that and help that.
Living the dream. That is legit. Living the dream. Simple as that.
So, Shawn, you get anything Masters related this week?
Not Masters related. I did get. No.
Oh, wait.
I did. I ended up. So I don't know for anybody else out there, but if you're in the bathroom and you're on your phone and you're looking at things, you go, I need another one of these. And it's like bathroom thinking, like, why
toilet paper?
I could get 2. This would be better. Well, this guy showed up.
Oh, yeah.
And this time around, instead of having him be like the legit He-Man the way you expect, I had to go with the
bracer?
No bracer, because I really wanted to do that Alcala vibe. And then I'm going to probably take my original and make him into the battle armor finally, because I've been really wanting to do that for how long. But and I'm gonna keep the axe with him.
Yeah, that looks nice. Yeah.
I dig. And like the angle, unfortunately, the angle I could see him on my desk is more like this, where he looks a little more like he's scowling. Yeah. So it makes it all the more, that's my boy. So, and I did check it all out. QC is no issue at all with this guy. Very happy. So
excellent.
It's like even let's see, there is a little tiny paint scuff right here, but I'm not gonna even care about that, because you know what? He's fine as is.
It's probably from where the bracer was originally.
Yeah, exactly. But I was one of the lucky ones. I didn't have a problem with mine initially anyway, the deluxe one, but that one, I don't know. Again, bathroom thinking. I'm literally, when they put Battle Cat out and they had this version of He-Man for pre-order, I go, why not? And I don't know why I did it, other than just, I think I wanted to have one where it was He-Man standing there as, maybe by the Power of Grayskull pose, and then have another one on Battle Cat so it felt legit. And now I'm like, so okay, if they do Deluxe Skeletor, I'm going to have to get Deluxe Skeletor. But then if they come out with a non-deluxe, but, like this version where it's, here's just Skeletor.
Yep.
I think I might have to do that just to keep it even. And then that might be the only time I do 2 of the same figure on the shelf that way. We'll have to see. But yeah, that happened. And he showed up, and apparently there's another one coming my way at the end of the week. Not the same He-Man, but another Mondo coming at the end of the week.
Look at Shawn go. Big Bucks Cavarna.
Not big bucks. Afterpay Scavarna. My wife hates it, but
you're the Klarna Scavarna.
I'm Klarna Scavarna, exactly. and that Klarna amount went up quite a lot with the Armies of Ashmore, because I was really lucky they actually accepted that on Kickstarter.
Nice.
So I had the funds put aside, but I'm like, if I could do that instead of doing, and it actually worked. But yeah, Skvarna right here. No big bucks at all, because all my big bucks are going to my afterpay fees and everything. So, yeah.
It's good times.
You live once, and the way you die is because your wife kills you because you keep buying too many Mondo things.
Yeah, good times. Oh, I got nothing this week. I'm in a drought. But that's okay. I got other stuff to take care of. So,
well, I was in a drought, and that's why all this stuff now, when it's coming in, I'm like, oh my God, I forgot about the tsunami that's about to hit, and I hope to God my wife doesn't see half of it.
Oh, you need to start sending everything to Jesse's house.
He doesn't need stuff to his house. He sends it to other places because he doesn't trust UPS or whatever.
Good times. All right. The news. We have going up in just a few short hours. The Masterverse Vykron. This is going to be a Mattel Creations exclusive. 9 a.m. Pacific time today, so it'll probably be out and sold out by the time I actually get this episode out.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And we knew this was coming, but this is the first time we'd seen pictures of it. And according to my 7:41 a.m. currently Pacific, so just 4 hours 19 minutes until this goes live.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, what'd you think, Shawn?
I got to admit, this one's pretty cool. I thought it was a fun gimmick in classics, but the other options other than the Barbarian version didn't do much for me, because they really did try to stick as close as they could to what the original figure intended back when they were doing like the Roger Suite three version of them, or whatever you want, the trifecta.
Yeah.
And I kind of dig that in this one they did their own take on that to make it feel like, well, if you want to do the other options other than the Barbarian this time, it will feel like a Masters character versus here's a tank on his head, the gun turret on his head, or whatever. And this time around, I really like that they made the military looking one. He almost looks like the battle ram or the Talon fighter meets Attack Track, with the way that sculpt looks to me, or like Land Shark even, or whatever. And then the other one where it was the space version, he almost looks like a military version of a Cosmic Enforcer, almost, to me at least. So that's one of the times where I can actually say with the designers on the line, I'm like, I like that. That is a really cool way of handling something that it is kind of a gimmick, but it fits into Masters much better than any version to date, for my money at least.
Yeah, I completely get you. And it's like, I do miss the Boba Fett helmet, but I get where they went. They went with basically the Grayskull spacesuit armor helmet with like Zodak flaps on the side. Like, I'm like, all right, I see what you did there. But yeah, the one that really grabbed my eye was obviously the tank top. And I actually see the sky sled in that head.
Well, that's why I was saying like battle ram, like the sky sled part of it. But like when I first saw it, my knee-jerk reaction was Land Shark at first, and probably because Land Shark has those guns on either side of its, and it just always had that like silhouette or profile to it. But I definitely see what you're saying about Jet Sled too, or Sky Sled, whichever one you want to do. Yeah, Sky Sled.
Jet Sled's different.
Zodak Force.
Zodak Force.
It's been a while.
Yeah, there's a throwback.
I'm just saying it again. That's old school. We're going old. That was before episode 100 at least. I don't remember what, but it was before episode 100.
I did throw it out to the Legendati group, and I did get what we think about this new version, because I felt he was the most drastically different out of the three. And Chris Geis, he commented, "I appreciate the less World War II era U.S. military design, and this fits the Eternia style of animal and machine." Completely agree. He took the words right out of my mouth. It's like, it's nice that it's not just a literal U.S. Army tank sitting on his head. Matthew Rodriguez asked if it was a custom. No, Matt, it is the Masterverse version, as you can see. Come on, man. Curtis
busy.
Curtis Ackerman has a gif of a trash bag exploding. Scott, but Curtis claims he's a Motu fan, but like, I have not seen him say anything good about any Motu anything in a very long time, so I'm questioning that.
Well, he's going on record as saying his Motu now is Mondo, which I can understand, but that's, even for me, I'm like, I can only do so many of these figures before I'm run out of room. I can't really use that as my measuring stick. This is more of like a like a boutique gift versus here's classics or here's Masterverse or whatever.
It's your high end line. It's your heavy
absolutely
hitters. Like I've said about Mondo again and again. Like, if I can do He-Man, She-Ra, Skeletor, Hordak, Battle Cat, like, I'm good. Like, just the big guys.
Sure.
Scott Baker has a picture of I believe it's Sam the Eagle from the Muppets,
which I can see that, and I see it now that he did that, and I love
it. Christopher Kelly says "the fuck," and Jesse Arnold says "what." So thank you guys for all that wonderful feedback. But yeah, so he is going up for pre-order in just a few short hours. Limit 3 per customer. Ships on or before July 28th, 2023. And he will have the box like the Hevelin did. So wonderful artwork on there. But he is just sitting in a plain box. Even though they do try to make it look like there's something behind there in the picture that they throw up on him, there's not. He's just sitting in the plain cardboard box like Hevelin did. Just so everyone knows that.
The one thing that does surprise me about that box is this is one of the first times I can think of where Mattel has legit just said, okay, do something with Frank Frazetta that we're not even going to hide that it's Frazetta, because image on the left in the picture that we're looking at for the audio listeners, it very much is like a Frank Frazetta image, but they did Vykron instead of a Frazetta Barbarian on it. And I like it, but with a question mark, because it really is like, typically anything Masters has a nod to the original lines. And this is the first where they were like, well, we never did this guy in the original line, so let's just go Frazetta with it and see what happens. So I kind of admire the fact that it's like, okay, Frazetta being an influence on this, that works.
Yep.
But man, it's like, it's a huge homage to him compared to the typical Master stuff.
And I didn't read everything, but I like, at least like you said with the artwork, they're just going like, they're more homaging that it comes from concepts.
Yeah.
Which is what I wish. I did scroll down a little bit there, and they did pretty much just steal the classics bio from him. He's a gladiator. He takes armor from blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
I still see, this is one of those characters that I don't feel the need to work him into the actual lore. Like, he doesn't need to be there. He is fine, just as, Star Wars did it back in the 90s. Like, oh, here's our concept line, the Macquarie line.
Yeah.
And they didn't try and be like, oh no, well, this version of Darth Vader, his armor did this. Like, no, they were just like, no, this is the concept art. Here you go. It's in a figure. Like, that's all you need to do with this stuff. So
yeah, like that was one of the downfalls of classics, was just how they wanted to handle that. I personally, I'm kind of there with you, but then the other part of me is like, it's we already talk about it a lot anyway, but it reminds me of Mythic Legions in a sense, where it's like, here's this figure. Yes, he's a concept, but if you want to put him in and have him be a part of something in your own headcanon, feel free. And you can make him whatever he wants. Like, I personally thought the idea of him being the gladiator, taking the stuff from his victories and things, that's actually not a bad idea, but they don't really do gladiator stuff too often in Masters compared to other things. So it is kind of the anomaly or something. But I agree. Like they could have done, like Vykron should be in that too. Demo Man should be in that too. If they and instead now there are these characters that they muddy the mythology if you have problems with those characters being a part of it. So
well, so if you're doing, let me go ahead and close this off. Let's get us back big. But like, to me, if you're doing a new TV show, say even the CGI series, right? And in an episode, Adam and Tila and Duncan are in a strange town where there's gladiator battles. And one of the guys fighting in the pit is dressed up like the barbarian Vykron, and one of the guys in the pit is dressed up as the Space Ace. And they're fighting. Awesome. Yeah. Great idea. Great nod. But, like, you don't have to actually, when you're just doing a toy of something and there's no media, you don't have to tie everything in. Like, that's what I'm saying. No, absolutely. Drop them in there. Drop them in a show, in a comic, whatever. You can even focus on them a little bit. Have them meet this Vykron and he be a part of this episode. Awesome. Yeah. But, like, when you're just like, well, to make a toy of it, we have to tie him into the, no, you don't. Just make the toy. Yeah. Especially on these adult lines like Masterverse and Classics were, you know, I am not going to get confused. Well, why'd they make Vykron when they didn't tie him into the storyline? And, you know, no, I know why you made Vykron. Like, it makes perfect sense. So, yeah, that's all. And it's not even so much with Vykron and Classic. Like, you know, obviously, Demo Man's a much bigger one that you mentioned, with them having to tie him into the origin of Skeletor. It's like, no. What are we doing here, guys? Or even like they couldn't even release Blue Hordak without explaining why he's blue. It's like, you just release him because he's blue. Like, we're good. Anyways, tangent. Are you getting Vykron?
I am not getting them because that's, again, I barely had any Masterverse figures to begin with, and I'm not into getting one figure out of a line that I'm not collecting the rest of it at this point. So, what about you?
Nah, me neither. I've always appreciated Vykron for what he is, but I don't have a big attachment to him. Yeah. And the fact that, like, excuse me, the fact that you would have to buy 3 of them to display all 3 looks, and it's like, I don't know, like that's another figure that, you know, like something like that I think would work better in a 3-pack with cool window packaging, and just something like you set on a shelf, you know, like, oh, here's the concept art 3-pack. And it's a nice display piece, you know, kind of like the Masterverse, the 40th He-Man that I could never find anywhere, unfortunately, but like in the red and, you know, brick classic packaging, that's one like that where I'm like, if I got him, I'm just setting him on the shelf in that box. Like, that's perfect right there. I don't need to open him. Sure. So to me, that's something that you do with these kind of characters too, where you actually make it a 3-pack, you know, replicate that famous picture, right, of the, you know, them in the panel at Mattel, blue background, the 3 of them standing next to each other. Yeah. And you just, and it's a nice box you put up on your shelf. That would entice me more than, especially with this cardboard box and a bunch of extra pieces, unless you want to buy 3, which is obviously the way they put the limit for 3.
Mm-hmm.
But I have so many parts. I have baggies and baggies full of hands and weapons and heads, and it's actually kind of turning me off now to buy figures with a ton of extra parts because I know I'm not going to do anything with them. They're going to go in the baggie,
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of at a point in collecting to me where I'm like, back when I was a kid, I was always like, why can't these guys come with more? And now I'm at the point where I'm like, can we scale it back a little bit here, guys? Like,
You've
this
gotten
is a little
old.
bit. I guess it just. I mean, I love some of the stuff these figures come with, but at this point, it's like, do we need 7 hands with each figure? Do we need? I think 1 alternate head is plenty, but now you got figures coming with 2, 3 alternate heads. I'm not just talking masters, obviously, but it's to that point where it's like, how much is too much for you?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I like that there is a versatility, but I'm saying across the board, not just with this figure. I like that they give you versatility now more than they ever did. But yeah, I can agree with you on the level of I have a huge. I wouldn't call it like a tackle box, but I have this. It's about this big, this long, or this wide. It's all like pull out shelving, basically little compartments, and it's loaded with classics and Mythic Legions parts. And for me, it's like I have so many things already in there that I need to get a second one sometime, so that I can keep up with the amount of stuff I already need to categorize and organize and stuff. So I'm there with you on that level, but it is nice that we have enough that if you want to do one thing with your figure and I get the same figure, but then I'm like, but I want him to be this guy. Yeah. We pay one price. We have the options that we can do that at least. That's really cool. Because that's one of those Pandora's boxes with collecting. Once they started that, you can't go back. The fans are going to lose their minds that you didn't give them all the options, and as kids, they never let us get to that point. Yeah. So now that they let us get to that point, we'll run riot. So yeah,
I don't know. Just make them distinct at least. I mean, when you've got closed hand, quarter open hand, 3/4 open hand, open hand.
Yeah.
Open hand with pinky out.
What for when they have tea? Yes. And there is a toy line. I won't name names, but there is a toy line where they even have the middle finger out now, which I'm like, I don't think I'll ever use that. And I get there's people probably that would, but I probably don't want to talk to those people because it's not exactly that awesome on the shelf, if you ask me.
It would depend on the character.
There
are definitely Deadpool, some characters where I'm like Deadpool, Constantine. There are definitely characters where I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
But just across the board, no. Although I will say one of the first things I did when I got my would have been Transformers Energon. Maybe I can't remember if that was or was it Armada. Early 2000s Transformers toy line where they finally released Unicron for the first time, and that Unicron does have fully articulated fingers, and one of the first things I did do was him giving the salute. So
I considered sparing your wretched little planet Cybertron, but now give it the middle finger.
And give it the bird. Light our darkest hour.
No, light our darkest hour.
Oh. Good times.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So I hope all you guys that want Vykron are able to get him. go now because he's probably sold out already.
Even
All right.
before noon, yes, he has probably. Yes, you're
They
right.
probably. All right. I guess that brings us to Masters of the Universe, Masterverse, issue number 4.
Issue number 4.
All right. We've got script by Tim Seeley. In the framing story, art by Eddie Nunez, color art by Rico Renzi, letters by Daron Bennett. Unfakeable, we have art by Daniel, letters by Daron Bennett. And in the Mega Beast Matrix, we have art by Fico Ossio and letters by Daron Bennett. All right, this will wrap up the Masterverse miniseries.
It will.
Did you hit something?
No, but you paused or something. I don't know. I've been here the whole time.
That was weird. Anywho, I know I announced Trepidation.
Yeah.
At the end of the last issue, knowing that this one was dealing with CGI and with the He-Force, which is a break from what we've seen so far in this comic, where they've done these fun what if Eternia concepts.
Yeah.
I guess you could kind of argue that the new Eternia one was, technically there are toys of that, but this was the first time we really dove into any of that kind of mythology. So I still lump it in there. You know what I mean? And I don't want to say that my fears were right, but I also don't want to say they're wrong. So let's get into it. We start off back at Castle Grayskull, and this is in the Revolution universe. And Sorceress is getting ready to show Zodak some more realities, but Zodak says that she has his curiosity because it appears the heroes whom you choose to show, inspired by the legacy of He-Man, are villains. Dun dun dun. And then we go into our first story, which is set in the CGI universe. We see the masters of that universe destroying the Eterno City. King Randor is confused as to why they're doing this. And back at Castle Grayskull, we see the real masters watching and going like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And they set out to investigate. I really thought they could have held that reveal for a minute. Like, it was really quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, again, we've talked about this for certain stories in this miniseries. There's 8 pages. So sometimes, like, I get what you're saying, that there could have been in more interest, like, have it that you see them wreaking havoc and all that stuff, and then all of a sudden, instead of going to Grayskull and seeing this, it could have just been, they just show up on the scene.
Right. Give it a little bit longer with the
build them up. Build them up a bit more. Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's no question. It's like literally, oh no, they're destroying the palace. Why? What is wrong with the masters? And then like the real masters right here. Like you see the whole thing at once, and you're not even subverted for like a second. Like,
exactly.
Even though we all kind of knew where it was going, but I don't know. it's a pretty basic story. I'm gonna be honest. This one was really disappointing for me. Like, especially with how much I enjoyed the CGI show. They teleport in, they fight. Tila is able to realize that they're created by Evelyn and Trapjaw through Havoc magic, and that they're fakers. And because they're part machine, Orko's able to tap in and mess up their programming. And they all turn blue and they shut down.
Yeah.
And Randor's like, I knew it wasn't you guys.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the one part of the story that I think I liked, at least, was the explanation of how this happened. And given the CGI show, it's pretty obvious it's going to be Trapjaw that makes them. Yep. But I like that at least we get that moment in one page showing, okay, Trapjaw, it says, Trapjaw attempting to prove himself to Skeletor after a failed coup attempt, uses Eternian robotic technology he helped design to fashion crude simulacrums of the Masters, and then Evil Lyn adds some magic to the thing, and between the two of them, they create these in order to make Skeletor feel like, hey, we're still on your side, even though we've been messing with you all along in the background and all that.
Yeah.
And I kind of dig it's like that story in one page was much more compelling to like read than the whole thing. Because the show is not this basic, and so the story for this being the way it was almost felt like this is them just almost after thinking this show, whereas the show itself, when you watch it, has a lot more going on for it than just this story and it's like this being the first time that they put this into a canon that isn't just the CGI stuff that they've released. It really does make you have that, like, really? Like, this is how you're handling this when it's actually a really freaking great show.
And that's the problem. It's like, that is a great setup. This is a great premise for an arc of the CGI show, and to see it wasted here. And I think they went too broad with it. Number one, like, if they had just created a He-Man faker, maybe we could have, but the fact that they created the entire team, you have no time for the flip reveal. You have no time to even really, like, I mean, this is a story where Faker should be ingratiating himself into the palace and then causing, and like it needs a whole setup, and you don't get the setup, you don't get the payoff. And honestly, just the even the art through here, like in the fight scene, I'm like, who am I rooting for? Because even the way they write the fakers, and they say like they're imbued with the memories because of the time that the Masters were trapped in the Havoc pit. Which I love that too. Like, it makes perfect sense. That's how the fakers, know what they know. But like they write them the same, they draw them the same. Like, so you're watching this battle, and I'm not even sure. Like, are we winning? You know what I mean? Which I guess is kind of the point, but it's messy. It's over too quick, and I'm really wondering where this is supposed to take place. And here's the other problem with going to an established world. Where is this supposed to take place in the timeline? Because it says Trapjaw is trying to regain favor after a failed coup. Well, the coup happened at the end of season 3. And after that, Skeletor is changed back into Keldor and locked up. But we see Skeletor here. And Randor is like tight with the Masters, which again, they don't really get to that until the end of season 3.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of one of those weird things where it's like, well, this doesn't, but then Eldris is still there to guide them. So it's one of those things, like, that doesn't actually fit into any of the established canon that we already have for this series too, which how my head works. That just makes me go, does not compute.
Well, I felt some of those things. I didn't go as deep into it as you did because when I watch and I binge that show, I take it all in when I'm watching it, but then I have like bits and pieces that I might not remember completely because there's a lot to take in. But yeah, just reading this, I'm like, so this had to have happened after season 3, but there's no Skeletor at the end of season. So that was already like weird to me.
Yeah.
So, and then all the other points you pointed out, I'm like, yeah, I didn't even think of those, but yeah, it's hard to argue them at this point. So, I mean, here's the thing. Like, honestly, if they didn't do a storyline where it was fakers and they all looked identical to the Masters, I got to admit, like, I'm not a huge fan of this artwork in any other way than it works well with the show.
Yeah.
So I can say, who was I'm sorry, the Daniel Pez Lopez.
Pez. It's got an exclamation point.
Pez with an exclamation point. I really dig how energetic this is.
Oh, for sure.
He really did try to make it feel like you're watching another episode of the show for the most part. There's a few here and there where I'm like, I kind of wish he did a little bit better with the faces. But that's the saving grace of this one for me, is it felt like a standard episode of this that it's like, even though it's on the comic page, it feels right visually to me.
Oh, completely agree. Like I said, it just, my only gripe was that it looked too good. Like with the fakers, give them something. Just a little. So, I know they're supposed to be exact duplicates, whatever, but like, it's just one of those things. Like, the evil version always has to have like a slightly different look or a different highlight or, something to just help the viewers go, is this the guy I'm rooting for?
Exactly.
But yeah, I would love if this guy did a ongoing comic series actually set in the CGI universe, not whatever this is. Like, that would be awesome.
I'd read it.
Absolutely.
I'd be thrilled with that.
The other funny thing is, and I got to throw it out there. So as, Orko taps in their program, the fears, insecurities, everything, they start airing out, and they all turn the orange and blue. Well, that means Man-at-Arms still looks the same in this.
I didn't think of that. Yeah. So then they can keep that storyline going just for Man-at-Arms. Wait a minute.
And that's the big problem with them not utilizing the green for Man-at-Arms, is now when you get the faker Man-at-Arms, it's like, oh no, that's still just Man-at-Arms.
Yeah, still that is out of all the designs they did on that show, that is probably still my biggest missed opportunity character. Like, green and orange, boom, you're good to go.
I'd still like to. Somebody needs to recolor that exact design, but just change all the blue to the military green. And I think it would just make a world of difference.
I agree.
But yeah, that was.
That was the
unfakeable
CGI, and then we get into the He-Force,
the Mega Beast Matrix.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, I'm upset, and again, it's just so we've doubled down that multiverse definitely happened, and that's definitely still affecting everything, because we come to the 87 He-Man movie universe, but it is He-Soul defending Grayskull from a very nicely looking drawn Langella Skeletor with, the live action Man-at-Arms and Tila backing him up. Because for those of you who don't remember or didn't read it, in the Multiverse comic, any of the He-Men that died in that comic stayed dead, and the members of the He-Force got to take over those He-Men's Eternias to defend them instead of, using the magic of storytelling to set things right at the end. Heaven forbid we do that. But, so, sorry, just bringing up old wounds here. He-Soul gets a signal that there's a greater threat to the universe than Skeletor, and he has to go! And he leaves Man-Arms and Teela to clean up his mess. And he bursts off through a portal. Back to his home world, which is the Eternity War Eternia. Where we see one of the best panels in the comic, in my opinion. I actually, for the last page that really ticked me off, then I got this page. I'm like, all right, let's see where we're going here, because he's jumping into the fray. You see Mossman, Snout Spout, Whiplash, Spikor, Rockon, Fisto, Buzz-Off, I mean, Triclops, Clawful, like all of these heroes and villains, Strato, Stinkor, all of these guys just in a huge battle. You can't even tell who's fighting who, what's going on. You got Twistoid and Merman and Too Bad and Mechanic and Ilena. Like, it's amazing panel. Do you like this panel, Sean?
Yeah, I did actually. Like you said, like the opening didn't bother me so much. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. He took over the Dolph Lundgren Eternia.
I know, it's a sore subject.
All that. And it's like, I don't know. The thing is, some of these He-Force characters, I actually think the designs, especially drawn here, are quite interesting, and I feel like there is a place for them. So it is kind of nice to revisit them in that way. But like, the old wounds that you're talking about, yeah, they're still there. But this panel you're talking about, the 2-page spread, it makes me think of the old Transformers, the back of the Transformers box, where it's like, it's this melee and everybody's going insane. And you're like, who's the good guys and who's the bad guys? Don't care. Giant battle. Awesome. Yep. It works.
Yeah. And that's kind of the thing. And it's like, and so we come to find out that it's actually heroes and villains are all fighting each other. No one's sure who's on whose side. Like, that's the whole point of it, actually. He-Soul meets up with the rest of the He-Force, which has He-Man, that Tiger He-Man. I can't remember what his name was. I can't remember. But the Green Tiger, He-Man, and then we get into this long diatribe as he explains everything that's going on. So basically there is something's going on. Someone's controlling the minds of hero and villain alike, causing them to turn on their friends. They pinpoint where it's coming from, and they wind up in Universe Prime Negative 17328, specifically on Etheria of that world. And I liked seeing Etheria. It's a long time since we've, been acknowledging. Unfortunately, we still didn't get a She-Ra in this, which I felt she could have come in the background somewhere, especially since she was in Eternity War, but that's just me. But they wind up in a fright zone. They fight the beast monster, find the remnants of the Horde, and even Hordak himself pops up in a very Bruce Timm looking fashion. Totally took me right back to the Bruce Timm mini comics. And even he's being mind controlled. And he asks them to kill him. Kill me or I'll destroy us both, is what he says. So that's actually having a bit of fun here, actually. I'm like, all right, like heroes and villains, big battles, Hordak, Etheria, like we're cruising.
Yeah.
And we find out that it's Modulok is behind all this. And he has found a way to basically Mad Hatter the entire universe and multiple universes by becoming the Mega Beast, which I was expecting to be the cool, Modulok multi-bot combined Mega Beast, but it's just a pile of human bodies. Shawn has
Let
no
that
thoughts on any of this.
silence let you know how he feels about that, folks.
And so Adam decides that he has to show Modulok what Prince Adam knew long ago. The power of Grayskull is too much for one man. Basically, Adam gives Mega Beast all of the power of Grayskull. He takes it back from the He-Force, and he gives it all to Mega Beast. And that causes Modulok to realize where the true power is, and he jumps through the portal to attack Zodak and the Sorceress to try and get the power. Or actually, he wants to destroy the power. He wants to destroy the power in the multiverse with it because nothing can contain such power. It should not exist. And he gets punched out by the tiger. And Zodak compliments the He-Force and flies off and says that the Adam of this world may keep the power of Grayskull because he will use it as a force for good.
The end.
God, for all the good they did in 3 issues, he does not know how to stick a landing.
Well,
I'm sorry. Like,
my initial, like, we have not talked about this off air at all.
We have not.
The first time we have ever dug into this. The only thing that I was going to say the minute that I wanted to talk about this with you was Tim Seeley's got a Tim Seeley.
Yeah.
And when I read this one, I literally, it barely took me any time to read it. And by the time I was I was like, that is how you ended it. And like the last few pages in particular are some of the most, I'm looking at them going, like you were saying, it's a little confusing with the fakers and the CGI one.
Yeah.
For me, I'm looking at this last one and I don't feel it's a problem in the artist's storytelling. I feel like it's a problem in the pacing of him getting to the point of, oh shit, I got to end it. I only have 1 or 2 pages left. Because when it gets to the power of Grayskull moment with He-Man,
yep.
Then all of a sudden it goes right back to Zodak and Source. I'm like, what the hell is happening here? And you explained it where I'm like, that's what he did. And it's still like not something that makes sense to me. No. And they don't even show you properly, like, okay, Modulok's there. And then in the way that the panels work, it looks like Zodak punches out Modulok. But then you have the narrative frame or the speech bubble coming from off camera. And then you see the He-Force guys there. And I'm like, I don't know who to blame for how crazy this whole thing worked out, but I'm not impressed by this ending. And it made me annoyed that it's on an Eddie Nunez page because I love what he's done on this. Yep. And this page for me was like, okay, it wasn't working for me in any way, shape, or form.
And I said it all along. I'm like, if this ends up trying to tie into something bigger, like, I'm going to be disappointed because this should have just been an anthology. That's what it's been for 3.5 issues now.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden it's like, oh no, the whole thing is that Zodak didn't realize the bigger multiversal threat. And it's like, you didn't talk about that at all up until now. Like, in the last story of the last issue, all of a sudden you're like, oh, but there's something bigger. Yes, I know. How'd even Modulok get through the portal? How'd the He-Force get through the portal?
That was, yeah.
If the He-Force gave their power back to Adam so that he could overload the Mega Beast to put Modulok on this path, why are they all transformed still? Like,
yeah.
One thing I will say I did appreciate, though, And it's subtle, but when they went to the Eddie Nunez pages, he did actually draw the He-Force in his style as opposed to in the regular story, which I did appreciate that, because I know that was one of my gripes during the Multiverse comic when they had like all the, like, some people would change and some people wouldn't change art styles when they went universes. I did like that, that once the He-Force showed up in Revolution, like they had a Eddie style. That's the way it should be, in my opinion. But that was a fun stylistic art choice. And like you said, the art in here is fantastic. Like, if you could take away all these word bubbles that are ticking me off, like this last story is a fun little beat 'em up. But I mean, and with everything we've done so far, like the whole point, right, is for the Sorceress to show the legacy of He-Man and inspiring and all that. And then you get to the world where it's literally happened, where we've literally gone to the next generation. Adam's king. He shared the power. You have the He-Force, which is the Legion of Superheroes version, you know, of them fighting to honor the legacy of the great hero.
Yeah.
And instead you do a Modulok wants to destroy all the multiverse. Like, all you had to do was do a nice solid story showing the He-Force in generations to come, and Zodak going, yeah, you know what? You're right. Adam's going to be fine. I don't have to worry about this. And he zoots off. And we just had a fun 4-issue, 8-story anthology series. That's all it needed to be.
Yeah. It's like the book became self-aware of what it needed to do on the last issue. And that, again, that's the biggest problem I have with anything I've ever read with Tim Seeley. It's the last issue ends up being something where it needs to, he always has it where it needs to rise above what he already established. And it doesn't need to go there. And I don't know. I've gotten to the point where, you know, the fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice kind of thing. Yeah. So I am in that mode right now where if there is another comic coming out and he's going to be the guy doing it, I know we're going to end up talking about it because we have a podcast. Yeah. But I'm always going to be like, I'm reading this only because I have a podcast, not because I'm actually excited to read it anymore. It's like he's lucky he has the artistic, creative people that are making this palatable for me at this point, because it really, like, I knew issue 4, I'm like, where's going to be the moment where it happens, and it happens, and it's like, okay, you proved me again. So this is your style. Okay.
Yeah, I was really disappointed because I was pumped to read this series. I was hesitant at first, but then after the first issue, in 1, 2, and 3, I'm like, okay, they're actually doing it, because that's what I hope for, a true anthology series. You know, I could have even done without the framing story myself. Like, just give me 8 stories. You know, that would have made them 9 pages each if you cut out the frame in every issue. You know. But, you know, I was actually pumped going into issue 4 because I'm like, all right, they're doing it. And then, like I said, first the Faker story, which doesn't make sense in the timeline of the series, and then as the other one went on, I'm like, oh, they're doing a big bad for this. Like, you can't throw a big bag into one story of an anthology issue, and even then, it doesn't even make sense. Like, oh yeah, this Adam's gonna be all right because Tiger over here punched out Modulok. Yeah. Like, wait, what?
Well, why can't it be on?
That's what changed your mind?
Exactly. It's like I thought the focus was Adam, and yes, it's almost like Tim Seeley's doing the whole. See, this is a great idea. He-Force. Zodak's even giving it the seal of approval, and it's like, thanks, because these are characters that, number 1, they literally are only in 2 comic books. Number 2, there's no toy tie-in, so this isn't feeling as legit as you're hoping. And 3, it isn't that great, and the artists are the ones who are making it look better than it should be. Yep. And it's like, I never in my life thought I needed a He-Man He-Force. And now that I know it's out there, I still know I don't need it. So something you brought up that I really want to talk about here real quick too. All right. So an anthology book by one writer but many artists in some ways isn't technically an anthology book, because shouldn't it be multiple writers and multiple artists to come up with these ideas?
I don't know. You tell me, comic boy.
Personally, I would like to believe that it should be different writers and different artists teaming up to tell these tales, instead of one writer doing all of it and having the same vibe across all 4 issues with all of the only ones that broke free were the Castle Grayskull Man one for me and the Man at Arms one. And obviously we had the jokey one in the first issue, but everything else kind of had a vibe that felt similar to me through all 4 issues, and especially when you're getting the He Force as the final issue on top of that. I personally wouldn't have minded seeing other writers take a stab at, like maybe issue 1 be one writer, issue 2 be another writer, or go even further, issue 1 story one writer, issue 1 story 2 a different writer, if you really wanted to go unique with it. But having different writers have a different take on the Masters of the Universe in this series compared to one writer across the board.
Yeah, I mean, it couldn't have hurt, and it definitely would. I think would have helped. I think it would have helped with keeping them separate.
Yeah.
Looking it up here, an anthology can be either. Oxford Dictionary says it's just a collection of writings or poems. And then other people do say by various writers. But then even, like Stephen King's different seasons, that's count as an anthology.
Yeah.
So, and that's all him. So it doesn't necessarily have to be different writers. But I think it would have helped in this case. Because that's all I wanted. I wanted just an anthology series. It doesn't. This is what I'm talking about. Well, everyone involved in Masters of the Universe, listen, not everything has to be a big thing. All right? The most powerful man in the universe can deal with littler threats. All right? They don't all have to be end of the world, end of the multiverse, especially when it's shoehorned in the last 2 dang pages.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it's Modulok's going to destroy the multiverse. Why? We already did this.
Yeah.
One trick pony.
Yeah.
All right. Our rating system, for those who don't know, the best of the best is 3 power swords. 2 power swords is great. 1 power sword is good. A Zodak, that's right down the middle, neutral. Then you've got 1 Havoc staff is 2 Havoc staffs is that's pretty bad. 3 Havoc staffs is this should never leave the dark side of Eternia. So, Shawn, issue 4, just issue 4.
Mm-hmm.
What's your rating?
Just issue 4. I'm doing a Zodak, Cosmic Enforcer. I love the art enough that the art, if the art wasn't as good as it is in this issue, it would be a Havoc staff for the first time. I haven't gone there yet, but it's not trash, but it's like I said, Tim Seeley's gonna Tim Seeley. it just I didn't mind the CGI one, for even with its flaws. I thought it was not a bad story. It's that last story where it's just it's a half a good book to me. So that's why I can't go completely bad. And even the art still holds up in that story.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So Cosmic Enforcer.
Yeah. Call me the Lord of Destruction, because this gets a Havoc staff.
Oh, you went there.
I can't help it. It's just and it's all story. Don't get me wrong. I agree with you. Art was excellent throughout. But just the story, the shoehorn twist at the end, and the the nonsensical timeliness of the CGI story is just like, nope, sorry. This is definitely a Havoc step to me for the series. So now for the Masterverse saga as a whole, we've got all 4 issues under our belt. I'll throw mine out first. I will give it 1 power sword as a whole. Because I feel the good outweighed the bad. I enjoyed more stories than I disliked. It probably would have been a 2 if it wasn't for the twist ending. But yeah, I still give it a solid power sword. I think there's enough good out of the 4 issues that I enjoyed it overall.
That's a hard one because I'm trying to like previous issues and stuff. I think honestly, okay, yeah. I have to agree because the previous issues had at least one, if not both, stories being something that you and I both were like, I'd actually want to see more of this stuff. Yep. And that is a key part of this miniseries to me. It is Tim Seeley did do a really good job of setting up universes that we might not ever see again.
Yep.
And it really makes your headcanon start going, well, how does this work? How does that work? And that, I think, is good writing, where if you write something and it makes someone who reads it actually have their own imagination about what happens next, that's great because it shows it stuck with you. This last story in particular, it's like, I don't give a damn about what happens with this one. The CGI one saved it for me slightly. And the art across the board, I thought the art with all the different styles, it was really fun for that. So yeah, I can give it 1 power sword, but I was really leaning on maybe doing a Cosmic Enforcer even on that because of how this issue went. So,
yeah.
But there was more good in 3 issues than there was in the bad in 1 issue.
I'd say if you haven't read this yet, just read the 3 issues, 1, 2, and 3. Don't read the framing story, and just enjoy these little glimpses into 6 alternate Eternias.
That's a good way to do it.
That'd be my recommendation because that's really all you needed, and that's where this series shined, was when it was just going, let's see what we can do here.
Mm-hmm. Which so I'll throw a curveball at you. Which of the stories in the 4 issues did you think was definitely like, yeah, this one was really working for you, even though it was only like 8 pages worth of story?
Right away, honestly, the one that always pops in my head is the one where Adam turns into Castle Grayskull Man instead of He-Man, and how it's slowly eating at his soul. I think it's the most different. It's like a dark horror genre twist, and that's a universe I'd really like to see more of and figure out how that works, like how he's actually keeping like an evil at Grayskull, at bay.
Yeah.
But he still has to tap into his power once in a while, but every time he taps into that power, it takes a little bit of his soul and it awakens the evil. Like that is a dark, interesting twist in a world where you're already fighting evil, dark creatures like Skeletor and Scareglow and all that. Like, but now you're also kind of that. Like that's probably the most interesting one for me, just in how, like, I want to wrap my mind around how that works and what happens, as he goes down this path.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that one for me, that one would definitely make the cut of an example. Like if somebody said to me, what did I think? I'd be like, check out that story. Yeah. And the other one would be the Man at Arms one.
Yeah, that one's fun too.
I was pleasantly surprised by Sin City Man at Arms. And so yeah, that was definitely another one that was memorable. But I'd say even like issue 3 did a really good job of. There were 2 stories in that I thought were pretty darn good too. So it's like there are gems. It's just this 4th issue didn't have gems as much.
Up until now, our biggest complaint was just that it was too short and we wanted more time in it.
Yeah.
This is the first issue that I've had legitimate complaints about.
Yeah.
All right. I think we got some listener feedback. I know I've got an email, if I can get to the right email. If you want to email us, logpod85@gmail.com. This is from Tony Moore, Simba's guard.
As if it would be from anyone else, right? That's great, though. It's good to hear from
Absolutely. And this is regarding episode not 100.
you.
Dear Matt and Shawn, I should have gotten this email to you long before episode 100. Shame on me. Sorry for being lazy. No need to apologize. We are behind our deadline all the time. I was glad you made space between episodes to review issue number 3 of Masterverse. Sorceress's listen to reason or else handling of Zodak was unexpected and very neat. I really liked both stories. It was great to see a more in-depth look at what it is like for Teela to house the spirits of the warriors of the past within her. I never thought how others might react to that fact. If this tribe that He-Man with also fears magic, it makes sense. The idea of a good Beastman was interesting. I just assumed that this is not the Beastman that would eventually serve Skeletor. Good point.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed the mention that the tribe's hunters had pet tigers. It just makes perfect sense. The story and art contradicting itself was odd to say the least. Teela commenting that He-Man has a much larger build than the other men in his tribe when he looks more like a buff savage version of Adam rather than the savage He-Man we know. Then the bad guy saying that they should kill He-Man while he's still a boy made it feel like some kind of miscommunication between the artist and writer. Yes. I did not understand the Grandemere scene. Thank you for explaining it. We did not understand it either until we started talking about it. That was another one we pieced together there.
Yeah.
Also, you mentioned if He-Man's lost to Teela and his ability to not die of embarrassment after being defeated by a woman is the example of how He-Man will never give in to despair. In the face of overwhelming tragedy that Sorceress was trying to show Zodak, this He-Man was way too big of an ego. Unless the Sorceress was trying to show Zodak He-Man's first step on the road to overcoming his far more powerful ego. I think it was just, again, I just talked about in the review, but the framing story was unfortunately kind of shoehorned in at times, it seemed. As far as the second story, I can only agree with you. A group of drunks that still have the heart of heroes, up to the point that they were willing to give their lives trying to do the right thing, with a leader who treated them like dirt, yet cared enough about his friends that their loss, and I'm sure his guilt for not leading them into battle with the element of surprise when he had the chance, drove him to do what his friends had died trying to do, and ultimately changed his whole life because of it. It was moving, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Sorceress being the spirit of Grayskull was something I did not see coming. I am looking forward to the next issue. If it sells well, maybe Netflix will realize that the CGI show should get a 4th season and make a decision. As for seeing the He-Force, again, I am not so thrilled, but maybe that Battle Cat man will get some character development. As always, thank you for your time. Sincerely, Tony Simba's Guard Moore. Yeah, Battle Cat Man did indeed get some more time.
Yes, he did.
And CGI does rock. This is one of the best covers of the series.
Mm-hmm.
I'll display this cover proudly. But
yeah.
And CGI still deserves a 4th season, regardless of what this did to the show.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not lying when I say I really hope we hear something sooner than later that they're coming back, because even if it's for one more season, they pack enough into one season in general that I feel like they could probably have it round off at least with one more, and then we're good to go. But I still want more.
How about movies? How about instead of doing seasons, just release a movie every once in a while? Like,
I'd be down with that too. I mean, the
He-Man versus the Horde, He-Man versus Grandemere, He-Man, and just these little instead of chopping up into the seasons and doing the filler episodes that Shawn hates, just get to the heart of what the arc of the season would have been and just do that into a movie and just release them every once in a while. Like, that could be fun.
Well, the rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie on Netflix proved to me that that's not a bad option. That was a freaking phenomenal movie, and that was a show that, again, people didn't give a damn about. But if you watch that movie, there are people that didn't like the show going, holy crap, I missed out watching this thing, because now I'm seeing it in a different way. It's like, the thing is, they couldn't even do that on the show.
Right.
The movie, they let loose, and it's like, imagine if they let loose on a movie with these I mean, these weren't even jokes compared to how the other series was. So,
and real quick, I did want to say, I don't know how well it's selling in anyone else's area, but I had a really busy work week the week it came out, and it has taken me, it's been like 3 weeks now, and I just finally found a physical copy. So everywhere, and this was the last copy at the shop that I went to. So in my area, at least, everyone's selling out. So and I don't know what that means for overall numbers, but I always look at it as a good sign when my local shops don't have a ton of issues left over after it's out.
Sure.
Shawn, you got anything?
Well, I put out the post, and unfortunately, like I should have probably posted it a little earlier than last night, but it is what it is. So we are now posting in the Legendati group, as we said before. So if you want to jump on there, you can do comments and questions when I do that post for any upcoming episodes. And it was seen by 87 people, though, so that's pretty cool.
Nice.
So JP Casto actually asked, what are our thoughts on Masterverse Vykron? Feel free. Go ahead. I know you love this part.
JP, we literally went over it like an hour ago. Pause this, rewind, listen this time. Thanks.
Yeah. Either of you going to order it, and then looking forward to listening to this new episode. Keep up the great work, guys. Thank you, JP, for that.
Thanks, JP. And
so
no,
just rewind the episode. You're good. yeah. You can have ours, and then you get all three if you want to go that route. Here's a name that we all know at this point: the inevitable Curtis Ackerman. Why isn't Curtis on more?
Curtis knows what he did to me.
Curtis knows what he did, but then Steve O'Beg responds with, probably because you can't super chat your own shows. Very, very wise man, Steve O. That is true. Although,
do you think if we started doing lives and didn't have him on them, then we would get all the Ackerman dough?
I was wondering that, but I still, when we came up with, I want to throw this out here to anybody who wants to hear a little behind the scenes. When we first were talking about doing the amalgam of Just Shelve It and Legends of Grayskull into Offworld, the one thing that I threw out there that I thought would have been funny is if the only way we let Curtis talk is he had to give us a super chat first in order to have any kind of a commentary into the episodes. It didn't go over, but I still think it's viable.
We need to revisit that.
I think it is a good idea.
Every dollar he PayPals me gets him a minute worth of talking.
Well then what gets me is right under that, Jonathan Donath actually says, feels like there should be more Curtis, and there's a lot of there's love there, but at the same time, here's the thing, just to our listeners, here's the thing: if you got Curtis on every single thing, you have too much Curtis after a while. The man is everywhere. It's like Legends of Grayskull is our chance that we can actually like have a controlled Curtis. And we'll invite him on. He can come on and have time, and then he goes off and does Just Shelve It or Offworld, and it's
I can actually enjoy my time without Curtis there.
I don't
have to correct him all the time.
See, the thing for me, it's funny. It's like I end up becoming the audience when you two are on together because you go back and forth with each other and jab all the time. But there is a certain amount of, wow, we both get to talk, because Curtis can be a little like, he not that he's a bad person, but he does have a very forceful presence if he wants to communicate with people at times. Therefore, it is kind of nice to have these just you and I moments where we get to talk and we trade opinions and stuff. So that works. Right. And then, so let's get back to this real quick, because we are trying our best not rabbit hole, but we are at already an hour and 24 minutes, so we'll see here. Chris Geis or Oz, Ostradamus Toys on YouTube. What kind of wax do you use to shine your head? Asking for a friend. Well, I'll tell you what. What? I thought you said putty. Is that what you said?
That's all you, buddy.
Oh, that's all me, buddy. Okay.
I have hair.
I got
not
wax
talking to
on
me.
ears. That's the thing. So, honestly, nothing. I just go in, I shower, and then I put a little moisturizer on my head so that I don't flake too often, and then I'm happy and I'm good to go. So that's about it. Nothing crazy.
That's all natural.
All natural, yeah. So our final one for our comment section on this episode is Jacob Hicks. And this is going to be
what's up, buddy?
We're not going to be in Motu exactly with this one.
Okay.
Favorite comic book character, didn't have a Motu question, he says. So I'm cool with us doing, if you want to do DC and Marvel, instead of doing like out of everything, this is the absolute character if you want to go there. Or if you want to do a top 3 or something, if one doesn't grab you enough that you need to have more than one, I'm easy. Because it's kind of fun to have this.
I haven't read a ton of comic books in a lot of years, so I guess I just gotta go to my old standby as Spider-Man. He's definitely the one that I bought the most comics for over the years, and yeah, he's a great guy. So
okay. So I'm gonna do it by DC and Marvel just because I'm that guy.
I mean, you've always been more of the comic guy than me. I like comic characters, but I don't necessarily read. Well, hi, Shawn.
There we go. We're back.
I don't necessarily read comic books a lot. So
all right. Well, see, and for me, it's like I don't have. Even if I say such and such is my favorite, then it's like, but there's also this, and there's also this, and I can never actually. It's like kids, you know, like if you say one is your absolute favorite, you're gonna miss out on something cool another one will offer or whatever. And so, like, if it was DC, it's for me, it's like a 3-way tie. I grew up with Superman, I always loved Superman, but then I always like when I was a kid, I also found out about Firestorm. Firestorm is like right neck and neck with Superman, and Green Arrow is also up there. He's my Batman because I love that he's so brash and he just tells people off and stuff instead of being like Batman where he's all stoic and stuff. Mm-hmm. So that would be for DC. And then for Marvel, it would have to be, I love Colossus. He's such an iconic looking figure, plus the artistic side. And then Spider-Man and Daredevil. I love that Spider-Man has real world problems and he's always got that going on, plus the superheroing. Yep. And I always like that Daredevil has the romantic drama crap and guilt dealing with what he's doing. And plus, it was always cool to go, he's a freaking blind guy going out there and being a ninja at night. I always thought that was so freaking cool.
Fair enough.
So, yeah.
I love it.
There you go.
Thank you, Jacob. All right. I think that's a show.
That's a show. And we got it in under 2 hours. This is awesome.
Well under. All right, guys. We want to thank you for tuning in today. Go ahead and check out Legendati Group. Head over to Offworld and Shoot in the Shelf. Make sure you're subscribed over there as well. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed to us yet, please do. We're like 30 guys short of 1,000. Like,
whoa.
Let's get this done already. Like,
yeah.
Come on, Legendati.
Yeah. Also, real quick, if you reviews, we haven't had a review in over a year on the podcast, at least on the Apple platform. So if you want to go on the podcast apps, whatever podcast you listen to, and give us a review, write us a review, give us some stars, feel free, because it's been a while.
Absolutely. And thank you, guys. And until next time, read some comics.
Oh, come on. Oh, rock. Oh, bear. Oh, bear. Oh.